Hi there, and welcome to Northport Living. Whether you're looking for the best spots to explore, helpful home tips, or ways to stay connected with your community, we've got you covered. In this episode, we'll get you prepared for the upcoming hurricane season. Let's go. Today, I am joined with the City of Northport Emergency Manager Stacy Aloisio. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about this past hurricane season. What was that kind of like for the City of Northport, and talk a little bit about what this past season looked like?
Sure. So 2024 was kind of a historic season for Sarasota County in general. We had those back-to-back storms with Helene and Milton. We also had Hurricane Debbie, which was just a tropical storm when it was off the coast of Sarasota County and dropped 17 inches of rain in Sarasota and flooded. So there were some significant impacts overall for the county. Northport kind of squeaked by this season. There were impacts. There was a lot of debris blown around by Hurricane Milton. But as far as the flooding, we didn't see that. We saw some standing water in the roads for extended periods of time, but no significant flooding or impacts like the rest of the county had. But it was really eye-opening for us to see a couple different things. One, we already preach this, but it's great to see what we preach being backed up by science. But you don't have to be in the cone to be impacted, right? The eye of Helene was over 100 miles off of our coast, and storm surge pushed up on the barrier islands. It pushed up the Myakka River past two of our water control structures in the city, and we weren't even anywhere near close to where the eye of the storm was for that. So you can be impacted even if you're not in the cone. Also, intensity isn't everything. Like I said, Debbie was a tropical storm when it was passing by us, and it dropped 17 inches of rain still. So it doesn't matter really what the category is. You can still be significantly impacted. So seeing those things kind of, again, backs up what we talk about every year. Don't really pay attention to the cone. Don't pay attention so much to what that intensity forecast is. Pay attention to what your local emergency managers, local government is saying for you to do as far as evacuating and being prepared.
Absolutely. I think that's something interesting to note is that the storm surge is what got past the water control structures. It's not the water that was trying to exit the water control structures. It was actually coming back into the city.
Mm-hmm. So it was pushing up past the water control structures. It didn't have significant impacts. It didn't last for a very long time, and our public works department did a great job of pushing water out ahead of the storm. So we were okay, and we weren't impacted because of the great work that public works did. But if it was for an extended period of time, it would prevent water from leaving the city and can cause severe backups downstream.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was last season. Now we're looking forward to this season. What is kind of the prediction and the outlook looking like for this season?
Well, it's an above average season like it's been for the last several years. That's for several reasons. Just high level, we are not going to have the Saharan dust as much this year. That's the dust that comes off of the coast of Africa, blows across the Atlantic, and can kind of suck the moisture out of these storms as they're trying to get organized. There was some rain in Africa this year, so the dust is going to be limited for us. There is a neutral El Nino this year as well, and that means there's going to be less wind shear. It prevents, again, those storms from being able to organize. The wind shear kind of cuts across the storm as they're trying to organize and intensify. So we won't have that fighting against them this year, which will be conducive for them to develop. And then, of course, the Gulf temperatures continue to increase and stay elevated. So as those temperatures stay higher, it's just more energy for those storms to suck up and intensify as well. So more storms this year than your average season, but we're prepared no matter what the forecast is. It only takes one storm. So even if there was only one storm to develop this season, if that one storm hits us, it's a bad season. So, no matter what the forecast is, we're always prepared no matter what.
Absolutely. So with that kind of on the horizon, what should residents be doing now before a storm is even on the radar?
Yes, great question. So there are things you can do every day to be prepared. One is having a plan. So knowing when you want to evacuate, what is your threshold for evacuating? You should always evacuate if your evacuation level is called to evacuate. But are there any other reasons, like your house is still damaged from a prior storm, or you live in a mobile or manufactured home that can't sustain those stronger winds? What is the circumstance that you're going to evacuate, and where are you going to go if you choose to evacuate, or when you choose to evacuate? You're going to go to a shelter. We have evacuation centers in the city. There's 4 of them in the city you can go to. Are you going to go to a friend's house? You don't have to go far. You just have to go to a level that's not being evacuated. So you can go there. You can also go to a hotel if you so choose to be in a hotel. I will say that the evacuation centers should really be a last resort just because they're not going to be very comfortable. You're sharing bathrooms. The food's not super fabulous. You will be fed, but it's not going to be great. And you're going to be pretty much on a gym floor given not a lot of space. So it's good to have a plan, be prepared just so you can have the most comfortable, less stressful experience. Have a go kit ready to go. So every time you go to the store, you can just buy a case of water or a couple of cans of food. We are recommending that everybody be prepared for a week's worth of food and water. Just as these storms continue to get stronger, it can take that much longer to get grocery stores reopened, the roads cleared. So just to have that available for you. Having your medications, having documentation for your pets so that you can take them to the evacuation center with you, and anything that your pet might need, have that prepared. Just anything you can do now so that when that time comes, everything is as grab and go as it can be. And then the other thing I highly recommend is knowing how much time it's going to take to prepare your house. When I moved to Northport, it was my first time having hurricane shutters. I have the big metal ones. I had no idea how long it was going to take. Me by myself in my house, I have a lot of big windows. Putting those shutters up by myself takes hours. If I have just one person helping me, it cuts the time down to like 30, 40 minutes. So just knowing how long it's going to take you to put up your shutters if you have hurricane shutters, keeping your lawn manicured as best as you can, keeping those dead limbs trimmed and down and taken care of. I know that Northport picks up your yard waste weekly. So if you have your yard waste properly bundled, we'll come pick that up for you. And then communicating all of your plans with your neighbors and your friends so that they know how to find you and where to find you should you evacuate, or if you're going to stay. If you're not being evacuated and you're staying, let people know so they know to check on you after.
Awesome. And that's kind of one of the questions that I was going to ask is, what should residents be doing to prepare their house? Because I know we have a lot of new residents to Northport. We have a lot of people that aren't used to a hurricane season, especially if they're coming from up north. They're used to a lot of snow. I know in Buffalo, there was times where we used to have to shovel snow off of the roof to make sure that the snow would not collapse roofs. So what are some of the big tips that people from out of town or that aren't from Florida need to know about preparing their home for the hurricane?
So again, shutters or boarding your windows, whatever you need to do. If your windows aren't impact windows for hurricanes, you need to make sure that those are covered up. Those winds can be strong and anything can be a projectile. So just making sure that you're protecting your windows. Speaking of projectiles, anything out in your yard that you can pick up, so can the wind. So anything in your yard, like lawn furniture, lawn gnomes, potted plants, all of those need to come inside the house. So you have those things. If you're evacuating, turn off the power to your house, turn off the water to your house. The reason being, if the power is down in the city and FPL turns the power back on, it can create a surge in the house when the power comes back on. It can damage some of your appliances, things that are plugged in. Also, if there is water intrusion in your home and the power is off and then the power comes back on, your outlets are wet, appliances are wet, it can cause an electrical fire. And if you've evacuated, you're not going to be home to know. And also, if the roads are blocked, it's not going to be a quick response for us to be able to get to your home. So just making sure that you have the water off to your house and the electric off to your house. Those are the main things that I do because I can't be home for an emergency. I'm here in City Hall. So I know that before I leave, I turn off my water and my power.
So when the city finds out that a storm is forming and could potentially make landfall and impact the city, how does the city of Northport communicate with the residents before, during, and after the storm?
Sure. So we do a lot of live streams or recorded videos, and we post them on our social media, on our webpage, just to give a little bit of information about what the city is doing to prepare. We coordinate with 97.5 WKDW radio. We have our northportfl.gov/alerts page where we put any notifications, our state of emergency if we have one, debris information post-storm, things like that will all be posted on the alerts page. We also will have our emergency information hotline open. That phone number is 941-429-7000. We have emergency call takers in there, and they will have answers to any of your questions. If they don't have it, they're next to somebody who does, so they'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible with any information there. And we also have our Alert Sarasota County, which is our mass notification system. If you go to alertsarasotacounty.com, you can sign up, and you should sign up for this notification system. This is where we send out alerts for evacuations, points of distribution that are opening up, where you can find recovery resources, anything life safety, we send through Alert Sarasota County. So if you could, after this or right now, pull out your phones, go to alertsarasotacounty.com, sign up for Everbridge alerts. It's not something where it's not like an Amber Alert, you're going to get them all the time. This is only for life safety. We only use it for life safety. So it's not something that you'll get every day.
You're not going to get promos about Easter egg hunts
right,
or
exactly.
swimming hours changing at the aquatic center,
right.
Things like that.
You're not going to get spammed with all this other information. So it's only for life safety. So highly recommend. Can't emphasize it enough. Sign up for those alerts.
And how does the city coordinate with Sarasota County? I know we have our own methods of communicating. How do we work with Sarasota County and state agencies during an emergency?
Our public information officer is embedded in the county's Joint Information Center, which is a fancy way of saying our public information officer, our communications team, works with the county's communications team. And that's to make sure that the messaging we're pushing out is the same to eliminate confusion. I also have calls daily during like a hurricane scenario, for example, with the county emergency management team. So we're on the same page there. They let me know what decisions they're making, what impacts they have, and I can share our information with them. So they're on the same page with us. They understand our needs, and we can coordinate that way. Our city manager also talks daily with county administration. So we're in step with the county every step of the way. And then any resource requests needs that we have, if Northport doesn't have it, we have a very streamlined method in place to ask resources of the county. And then they have an easy, streamlined way to ask resources from the state. So we have a process already ironed out there.
A lot of collaboration between agencies.
A lot of collaboration, yes.
When a storm is coming, and we know that one is on its way, when and how are evacuation orders decided?
Yes. So we try to make evacuation orders as early as possible. The county is really the one who takes the lead on that. Statutorily, that's what the county does. And they fill us in, and we can always expand on what their evacuation orders are because we have specific areas that are prone to ponding or flooding, depending on the scenario. So we can expand, but their decisions are based off of storm surge. So that water that the storm is going to push up onto land, if it's predicted that it's going to be life-threatening to your area, that's when they say you should evacuate. So it's based off of storm surge data, for one. And then the other part of the evacuation level is tied to if you're in a mobile or manufactured home. All of those are level A evacuations, and that's just because they can't withstand those wind loads. So those are the only ones that aren't necessarily related to storm surge. But we do have mobile manufactured homes in level A evacuation level, but it's mostly tied to wind for those, and then but storm surge for everything else. So if they say evacuate your level, that means we're predicting life-threatening storm surge in your neighborhood and you need to leave. If you choose to stay, you're at risk of your home flooding while you're in it. Or if you say, well, my home's elevated, you could then become an island. Everything else around you will potentially be underwater. No one will be able to get to you. You won't be able to get out. You're not going to have power. You're not going to have water. It won't be a fun time. So just if they're telling you to evacuate, please do.
So when people in level A find out that they need to be evacuating, what should those steps look like for evacuation?
Well, they should have an evacuation plan already established and ready to go. So based on your plan that you all are totally going to be working on right now, first step should be to go to a friend or family member's house that's in evacuation level C or D or E, somewhere that's not being evacuated. It's going to be a lot more comfortable for you there. As long as you like that friend or family member, it'll be great.
And it's only for a few days.
Yeah, it's only for a few days. Second would be a hotel, just because, again, comfort level will be there. It'll be a lot more comfortable than your other option, which is going to be our evacuation centers. And like I said, it's a safe place. You'll be safe. You'll be taken care of, but it's minimal resources there. It's just enough. Say it's a lifeboat, not a cruise ship. It's just enough for you to get through the storm, and you can stay there until it's safe for you to go home.
With the hurricane supply kits that people should have, what should be in those? What are kind of the most important necessities that people need to have in those kits?
Right. So if you're leaving your home and you're going to to one of our evacuation centers, for instance, if you have any dietary restrictions, you're definitely going to need to bring your own food and water. I'm not going to promise that the food there is going to, they're probably not going to have gluten-free type things. So if you have dietary restrictions, make sure you're bringing your own food. Medications, just extra water, just because it's always good to have. Any toiletries, toothbrush, deodorant, floss, anything like that. Have that with you as well. Bedding, you're going to be on a gym floor, so some sort of cot, air mattress that you can inflate or sleep on so you're not on the hard floor, but bed, pillow, any other comfort items that you might have. If you're bringing your pet, you'll need kennel or a carrier, all of their documentation, food bowls, litter box if you have a cat, doggy bags if you have a dog, and any of their medications as well, because pets need medications. Any comfort items for your pets too. If they have a favorite toy, it's going to be a loud, crazy environment for them, so anything to make them comfortable as well. Those are just some things to consider. And then I'm a coffee person. Can't guarantee that every evacuation center is going to have coffee, but they should at least have water, hot water in a microwave. So they have coffee in little tea bags, and that's what I use. I guess it's not a tea bag.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I have here in the EOC. Just have hot water, and I can just make coffee like you would make tea. It's so good.
That's interesting.
It's
like
needed.
An instant coffee almost?
It is, yes, but better.
Interesting. I've never heard of that
Somehow
before.
It's better. Mm-hmm.
When the storm comes through and passes, what is the city's role in the post-storm recovery and cleanup?
The number one thing that we try to do is communicate, which can be difficult after a storm. We want the public to know what the state of the city is after, what roads are closed, what dangers are still out there, what we're working on. We're doing search and rescue operations first and foremost right away. So if there is an area that was hit by a tornado or an area where houses are flooding, we're sending in airboats, first responders. So as soon as it's safe. In addition, everybody wants to get the debris out of their yard, their construction, if their house was damaged, pulling out the drywall and things like that and get those out to the street and get that taken care of for mold remediation. And so our next big thing, once the roads are cleared, once we're doing search and rescue, then we're working on clearing the debris to try to get everything looking normal. We also want the schools to reopen. So we have our schools are our evacuation centers. We know that we have residents staying in those centers. So the county will work with us to consolidate those centers to somewhere else that's not a school, so we can get those schools reopened. If people still need somewhere to stay, they'll be staying elsewhere. And then businesses open as well. So we want Publix to reopen so we can buy groceries. We want banks to reopen. People can get money, things like that. So we're also working very closely with partners to make that happen.
What are some of the common misconceptions that people have after a storm has passed?
Yeah, so I think it's the assumption that things are going to move really quickly because the storm blows through really fast and causes all of this damage. It only took, 24 hours for this storm to cause damage, and it's going to take us way longer than 24 hours for us to pick it up. And, for people who are here for Irma, even Ian and Hurricane Milton this past season, debris takes a long time for us to pick up. We're competing for resources with everywhere else that was hit by the storm. And if there are any storms prior to this one, we're fighting for those resources for debris cleanup. Not only debris, but getting the power back up, getting water back. So we're off boil water notices. Unfortunately, it does take time. We work as quickly as possible. We have contracts in place ahead of time to make sure we can get as much resources as we can into the city. We pre-stage as much as we can, but it does take some time to get everything back to normal. Sometimes, some people are still recovering from Ian, so it can take years, but we have great partnership with nonprofits, with the Long-Term Recovery Group of Sarasota County, run by United Way of South Sarasota, and we work closely with them to help expedite some of the recovery processes in place as well. But again, it's a long process. So bear with us. We're doing our best.
So that's what the city does. What can neighbors do to help each other?
That is a great question, because really the first responders are the neighbors. People, especially if you aren't in an evacuation zone so you can stay home during an emergency, you're at ground zero. So you're there, you've got eyes on the debris in the roads, the ponding in the roads, things like that. So you can go to our North Report web-based app now. It's on our website, and you can, anything that you see that it looks like, oh, the city should know about this so they can send resources to us, put it in there. So if there's a tree down blocking your road, if there's standing water in your road, if there's the power line down, put all of that into the North Report app so we can send somebody out to get eyes on it as soon as possible. If you know that you have neighbors that are elderly, other neighbors that didn't evacuate but stayed, make sure you check on them to make sure they're good. If you have skills that could be useful to your neighbors in their recovery, like you're really good with a chainsaw or you're great with drywall, lend those skills out to the neighbors who need it, and they probably have a skill that you could leverage to help you with something around your house that you need assistance with, or maybe next storm you're more impacted than they are and they can help you. We really want to emphasize how important it is to be good neighbors, help each other out, because again, you guys are the first ones to be on the scene even before our first responders can get there. So it's really important that you guys help each other because you'll recover a lot more quickly.
So with all this information, are there any other resources that the city provides to educate residents about hurricane season or anything that's involved?
Sure. So you can go to our website, northportfl.gov/emergency management. You can also go to ready.gov. Both have some great preparedness information available. And ready.gov talks about tornadoes, flooding, hurricanes, wildfires. So there's a lot of other important disaster information as well. On May 31st at the George Mellon Activity Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we have our Hurricane Expo. I'll be speaking, as well as the Sarasota County Emergency Manager. Our Public Works Department will be talking stormwater management, and the National Weather Service will be talking about the upcoming hurricane season. We'll have representation from a lot of city departments, some county departments. The state of Florida will be there. Resilient SRQ, which is the Ian Recovery Program, they'll be there as well, along with some private sector vendors and other nonprofits. So it's just a great resource. Come out. Public Works is going to have some fun displays outside, airboat, high water vehicle. FPL will have their big mobile trailer out there for you to see. And then if you want myself or my deputy to come to your organization, your HOA, if you have Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, business, we're happy to come give a hurricane seminar. You can go to northportfl.gov/request speaker, and you can request us to come speak.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I know we've covered a lot of things on this episode, so I want to ask if there is just one thing or a few things, but mainly one thing that residents can take from this episode. What should it be?
Be prepared. I know that's really broad. Be prepared means a million things, but hurricanes, for those of us who have lived through them, they're extremely stressful. And the more you can prepare ahead of time, the less stressful it becomes. So have a kit, have a plan, know what it takes to get your family ready, get your house ready, Know what you're going to do ahead of time, because when it comes down to making those decisions last minute, it's just going to be a lot more stressful. So just know when you're going to evacuate, know what you're going to bring, know where you're going to go, know how you're going to prepare your home. And if you have all that stuff lined up, it just makes it so much easier. So be prepared.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Northport Living. We'll be back soon with more tips, events, and inspiration. Until then, get out there and explore all the amazing things our city has to offer. See you next time.